Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy R&R. This is your host Ryan.
And I'm Rob.
Let's jag off.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan. Fantasy R&R.
It is week 7, Thursday, October 19th. We are in the midst of fall. It's beautiful up here in New England. Down there in Jacksonville, I'm sure at some point it's going to get below 80 degrees. We are looking at a Jaguars game where they are going to Louisiana to play the New Orleans Saints. They're listed as underdogs at plus 115. The Saints favorites at negative 135. This could be Trevor Lawrence versus Derek Carr, or it could be C.J. Beathard versus Derek Carr. Either way, we're going to do a little bit of discussion about this game, where the Jaguars are, where they've been, where they're headed, and talk a little bit about Trevor's injury and how you approach this game in a fantasy aspect or a gambling aspect, depending on how they rule Trevor's ability to start, around 90 minutes prior to kickoff. So with that looming above our heads, Rob, let's just kind of like play devil's advocate here for a second. Let's talk about what the Jaguars have been doing and leave Trevor's, injury out of it. We'll just talk all the way up till about last week. Where we're at in the season, is this where you expected us to be, physically, from a record standpoint? What are you liking? What are you disliking at the moment?
Yeah, I mean at 4-2, I'm very happy. The blemish right now is the Houston loss. The bruise right now is the Kansas City game because, again, as we went over at length, we held them to 17 points. And the highlight right now is the Bills game and the 3-game winning streak we're on right now. And I feel like the last game went, I feel like, according to plan. Like what I wanted to see, the blemish on that game was the fourth quarter, where it just seemed like we kind of petered out for like no good reason. And, people are going to want to say, oh, we want to see a complete Jaguars game. Well, I think it potentially could happen tonight easily against the Saints, with, of course, the caveat being that Trevor Lawrence does indeed start, which, again, as you were just saying, Ryan, that's being reported that he is just an hour ago. Is that correct?
Well, I wouldn't, go as far as say is, but Doug Peterson gave a statement where he expects him to play. They're going to do a routine pregame workout. What I'm seeing is everything you'd want from Trevor Lawrence is that he knows how important this game is to the Jaguars to make sure we don't lose games like this to the Saints down the stretch, trying to get into a seeded position in the playoffs. Because, regardless of how the Jaguars have looked and lagged behind in their offense a little bit, I'd have to imagine they're still the favorites to take the AFC South, and they probably will. It sounds like Trevor's going to get out there and try to be competitive and play. Now, with that being said, again, I've seen some people already in CBS are saying they're taking the Jags, but it literally has the word caveat, like that is if Trevor plays. It would change a lot of things if Beathard plays. And, I do enjoy the fact that the Jaguars are in first place in the AFC South right now. I did feel like this was a little bit of an inflated record at the moment, but we're still very early in the season. So there's time to kind of fix up, some of these loose ends, tie up the loose ends, clean a little bit of the rust off, so you can really get some momentum going. I'm a little bit scared of teams like the Dolphins right now. I don't think the Jaguars would hold up onto them. Now, we were talking about how the Bills' window is closing a little bit, so we're kind of expecting at this point, hey, we need to beat the Bills on a regular basis if we're going to be considered one of the top teams in the AFC. When it comes to the Chiefs, I thought we put up a very good fight against them this year. It's just that same problem I keep seeing, where we're relying on an odd style of running game, and we're not utilizing Trevor in between. So we haven't seen any of those huge, big plays like, Ridley for 60-yard TD, Kirk for multiple 30-yard TDs. It's like a lot of stuff has been dink and doink lately, and that's scary. So let's say we assume Trevor's playing tonight. Are we running that same game plan against the Saints? Or are we just going to be like, all right, hand it to Trevor 3 times in a row, and when it's 3rd and 6, we'll toss to our tight end for 8 yards, and it'll bounce off his hands, And then obviously I'm not talking about Ingram or anything like that. I'm just talking about in a general sense. Is that the game plan tonight? I mean, if Trevor plays, you'd have to think he's going to be in the pocket and get rid of that ball fucking quick, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm definitely thinking that. I mean, the Saints defense is pretty good. The problem is the Saints defense is, the Saints offense is really bad. So essentially, the defense I feel like gets worn out quick. I feel like the Jags able to tack on. I think what were we talking about, like 14-0, quick. Just a punch in the mouth. Get the Saints dazed up to where Derek Carr's got to sit there and fling it, which he can't. The guy is geezed up. He looks like Carson Wentz on his last leg, which was not good. And what I hope is, yeah, we do open up the playbook. We continue to open up the playbook, but we get the starters out early in this game, and that's what I'm hoping to see by the fourth quarter. Then we see C.J. Beathard, if indeed, again, Trevor Lawrence does start. I really feel like this could be an easy slam dunk kind of win. Watching the Saints last week against Texas was just abysmal. I watched, again, like 3/4 of that game. And I don't know how many attempts Carr had, but I feel like it was almost as close as Minshew had last week against the Jags of over 50. And they still couldn't score. And I like our defense better than I like the Saints offense. So, and then again, vice versa, once, hopefully we do get confirmed that Trevor Lawrence is indeed going to start, I like our offense way more than I like the Saints offense.
And that's probably what's going to be the big kicker here is we're not really going to know until the last minute, and it's quite a name to not know about until the last minute. It would be just as significant for anybody, like if, Patrick Mahomes was in this same boat. Right. So, looking at my team, for example, in the Keeper League, I've got a choice now. Trevor Lawrence, if he plays hurt, or I've got Sam Howell going up against the Giants. And it's a interesting decision because if I do decide I don't want to run with Lawrence and they decide we're not going to play Lawrence, well, I'm probably yanking Ridley out of my lineup because I've got guys like George Pickens, Pittman, this Zach Evans guy, and Rashad White that I could throw in as a flex over Calvin Ridley. So, Ingram probably gets downgraded. Ridley gets downgraded. Kirk gets downgraded. Zay Jones, who's already kind of downgraded, would probably be a sleeper pick if somebody like Beathard came in because we don't know what kind of chemistry he has with the wide receivers. And regardless of the chemistry he has, he's never been known to be a great thrower of the football. He's got some family pedigree, and he's a hard worker and a smart guy. But I see him being one of those dudes who came out of college to ultimately serve as a backup for his whole career before going off to coach. And that's where Beathard's at. I just don't think his physical ability would catch up this point in the season and this point in his career. So I'm a little worried for the Jaguars in that sense that if Trevor does not play, we're possibly looking at a 4-3, which would be catastrophic to me at this point with the schedule we have left.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just going to believe that Trevor's going to play. I believe we're going to win, and we're going to be looking at 5-2, and I believe we're coming to fruition what you and I were talking about at the beginning and during the offseason of what we expected to see from the Jags. I believe it is happening.
I am kind of there in the same boat. Listen, I think Trevor's got the competitiveness. He knows where we're at in the season right now. Yeah. It's not going to feel good to him to have to admit defeat, like, I just can't play today, guys. Like, I don't think Trevor's that kind of guy. He's not Deshaun Watson here. I do expect to see him out on the field. Now, I don't think you actually downgrade the Jaguars wide receivers if he plays hurt. I don't think that. And the reason why is what we were just saying. It's probably going to be a situation, especially with our offensive line issues, we're not going to be doing any rollouts with a quarterback with a sprained knee. We're not going to be doing flea flickers or cute shit. He's going to take 3 steps back, 5 steps back, and he's going to rock and fire. And the ball's going to come out quick. You're probably going to see, again, maybe 25 pass attempts the whole game, but they'll be on target, and it will pepper in ETN a lot. And I don't think that I don't think Lawrence is a bad play for fantasy or a good play for fantasy. He's literally been a middle of the pack QB. I think he might even be ranked 15th right now. So just in that upper echelon of the half. So even if you played him tonight, I wouldn't be expecting 3 TDs on his best day in his best health. We just haven't really seen that on a consistent basis from him yet with this offense. So regardless, on the other side of the ball, the Saints, they're kind of in the same boat. I mean, is it any different? Carr's not even playing as well as Trevor Lawrence is, and he can't get the ball to Michael Thomas, Chris Olave. Olave has like 1 TD on the season, which is an absolute atrocity for a guy of his talent because he's probably wide open in the end zone more often than not. I'd be scared to continue playing with anybody on New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, Alvin Kamara, of course you're playing.
Yeah.
But everybody else, yeah, I'm not starting anybody with the Saints. Derek Carr looks like an absolute mess. Like I said, the one player that came to mind was watching Carson Wentz just peter out at the end of the year, end of his career, and I was like, that's what I'm seeing with Derek Carr. It's like time to hang it up. Saints, I think if they were smart, you just tank and get a really good quarterback coming into the NFL next year. Unfortunately enough for them, a lot of them could potentially be coming out of college just after this season. So, again, let's go Jags. Let's jag off. I think the Jags are going to get the dub today. I really do.
Yeah, so assuming that Carr plays the whole game, or maybe they eventually go with Winston. I mean, it's obvious there's still some value in deep leagues to hold on to guys like Michael Thomas and Raheed Shaheed. That are, getting bulk targets and bulk plays, but it's going to be a rough one tonight. I'm kind of looking at an ugly scoreline. I think it's going to be, I don't know, one of those like 20-10 games, Jaguars, 20-16, 20-17 kind of games. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I'm willing to go with the Jags on this one, assuming Trevor does play. At 115. Again, lay down 100 to win 115. With the Saints, they got him at 135. You lay down 135, you get 100. I wouldn't be putting that kind of action on Derek Carr. A little, I don't know, just makes me kind of shiver thinking about it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. Jags win 20-17. Probably going to see a little action from Kamara, split through our secondary a little bit on split the defense down the middle and get down to the secondary. I think we're going to see a few of those plays because he has been catching the ball very well on those screens and the only throw that Derek Carr can make, honestly. And you'll see a little action from the Saints, but not much. The Jaguars' defense has actually held up pretty well against most teams. So 20-17 is my final prediction. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of money down on the Jags. I will not be doing any parlays until I figure out whether Trevor Lawrence is going to play or not. That just makes sense, so I won't be giving any of that information or advice out here. Rob, final thoughts on the game. Give me a score.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little more optimistic with the score, and I think the Jags just leap out quick, and they win essentially something to the effect of about 30-10, 30-14, something in that regard. But again, they leap out quick. I do like what you said about Trevor Lawrence. Like, he wears a knee brace and he goes back 2-3 steps to fire. This might be a huge help for the Jaguars offense because that's what Trevor Lawrence is made to do. He's not made to run outside the pocket. Like, I get it, the O-line stinks, but we just got to get things corrected. I believe we get it corrected quick and fast like we did this past game. We just had a bad fourth quarter, but in this case, we're not going to have to worry about T-Law having to play fourth quarter. We end up winning 30-14, something to that. Let's go Jags. Let's jag off.
Absolutely. Final thoughts here from me on the fantasy landscape for the weekend. It looks like it's the week of the backup running back, the week of the old running back, and the week of the QB. So what I've been noticing is a lot of the major QBs have not been putting up the numbers people want to see. And people are now starting to take a dual approach. They'll start one QB one week they'll start somebody else. I'm just going to let you know, in a league with only 10 guys, even though we have deep rosters, right now the best named quarterback on the list up there is Dobbs. He's the one producing the most. Then Pickett, Stafford, Daniel Jones, Brian Hoyer, Derek Carr, Desmond Ridder. It's ugly. You got to get out there and get a QB while you can before anything else happens. I think everybody's best chance right now is to go with Sam Howell, even over Jordan Love. I think maybe Howell is got just that little bit of extra, confidence and determination to. He's the only leader in that group over there in Washington. We know this. So and I think he's going to have the most moderate success level of all these guys that are on the waivers for the rest of the season. I mean, it really goes to show you Stafford being dropped by so many people in so many leagues, regardless of the fact that he still hits Cup and Puka on a regular basis. He's the 20th ranked QB in the league, and he's only 55% rostered now. It's interesting. So go out and get your guys while you can. There is one QB I want to just say I think he'll be out of the NFL next year. The one not named Zach Wilson is we're not going to see Mac Jones ever again.
Yeah.
And now they're coming into Buffalo. Or I mean, they're playing. They're playing at home, but Buffalo's coming to them.
It's over.
So you're talking about a stretch where this guy, I think Mac Jones, has probably thrown less than 500 yards in the last 3 games. He hasn't thrown a touchdown in the last 3 games, and I know for a fact he has like 5 to 7 turnovers in the last 3 games. He's gone soon. There's no way that Belichick's going to put up with this any longer. They're making him look like a fool, and he knows that Zappe can't get the job done. So it's going to be complete rebuild for the Patriots. Belichick probably moves on. Guys, this QB thing is not a lock. Hurts even, lost to the Jets. Right now, it's looking like Josh Allen. That what we talked about when we drafted Josh Allen. He's a little bit more of a physical running back. So even though he's not as fast as Fields or Hurts or as elusive, he'll jump over guys. He'll use his body strength. He takes those chances, and he's a little bit more sturdy and durable than Anthony Richardson, obviously, who's the only other guy taking those chances. And much to people's credit, they said he wouldn't last the season, and a couple of people were right. I think you and Kent said it at one point, and that's what happens. But Josh Allen seems to hold up. So Mahomes kind of underwhelming this season. He doesn't have any weapons because of the contract. Your QBs are actually mattering less and less as this season goes on. But at the same time, that means they matter more and more because you can't rely on Lamar Jackson to run for 200 yards anymore. You can't. Fields, his hand may be broken. Kyler Murray might be coming back, and Dobbs is going to take a seat, and we have no idea what's going to happen there. Is Kyler going to come back and play well? It's a really interesting situation because you got a week where like Craig Reynolds is probably a waiver pickup darling if Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't going to play. We got the Bears musical chairs right now with their running backs. James Conner getting hurt, and then the Amari DiMarcado barely getting any touches in that full start. It's a really rough thing to navigate right now. So it's like play your best wide receivers and get very matchup dependent with your QBs. It's okay. This is the time to play Jared Goff. This is the time to play, guys that are streaky like that. That you see like, hey, they've been having moderate success all season. If somebody's the 6th best quarterback in the league, they're the 6th best quarterback in the league. So, my final thoughts on the fantasy landscape for Sunday, and we'll close with that.
Dude, I'm excited. I mean, the one thing, of course, that comes to mind with my team is seeing Fields, like you said, potentially break his hand. And I had Goff sitting on my bench, so I'm just going to kind of spray and pray with him going forward. The DJ Moore thing kind of worries me a little bit. I'm going to be forced to play him, but that's okay. I mean, albeit outside the various injuries we've been seeing all season long, I think it's been kind of a fun fantasy landscape. I don't think, even in our league, I don't think anybody's doing really good, whereas a lot of teams aren't really doing that bad. So, I don't know. I think there's still plenty of time. This is, like you said, week 7. This is where things start getting really interesting. This is where I feel like a lot of offenses start gelling. Like your concerns, like you're saying with the Jaguars. Again, I agree. I'm seeing it. But in the same regard, silver lining, Blue Angels flying over my my place right now.
It's very Jacksonville. It's very Jacksonville.
That is very Jackson. I'm very excited. This is really kind of jacking me up for the game, dude. I'm ready to jag off. So, I don't know, man. I like what I see from the Jags. I think it's a very exciting time to be a Jags fan, to be living in Jacksonville right now. And I want to I want to see a 4-game winning streak, and I want the city to just have a great time, man. And let's go Jags. Let's jag off. So.
Yeah, I don't think anybody outside of Jacksonville don't realize just how important this game is. So
Yeah, for sure.
a big thing for us, it's like you said, I'm just very excited to see us get that streak going. So I really hope Trevor plays tonight. And again, if he does, guys, load up on the Jags bets, throw it on them. I know they're going to take out the Saints tonight, even as underdogs. So let's jag off. Once again, this is Rob and Ryan with Fantasy R&R. We will see you next time.
That was fantasy with Rob and Ryan.